channel. My name is Decortia. I know it's been a while for all of my subbies. It's been 2 months, which is super duper crazy. And I just want to catch you guys up on what's been going on, where I've been, how my first rotation is going, and you guys can get ready with me. So stay tuned and keep on watching. I kind of don't even want to do my forehead. I don't think I'm gonna do my forehead. So I'm back in Ohio. Yay, Ohio. I'm so excited about that, to be home. My first rotation was oncology, super hectic. A very tough first rotation. 10-hour shifts. You know, we're supposed to do 40 hours a week, but I was doing about 10 hours a day, Monday through Friday. It was myself and 2 other students from 2 different universities, so it was cool to see how each university was taught in their didactics, and it was nice to have other people relate to how I was feeling, because of course I talked to my colleagues here and there, but I don't feel like anyone could relate, because your first rotation is typically like an introductory. It is like you getting a taste of what the rest of your year in clinicals will be like. For me, it was like a little bit of residency. It was a residency level for sure. It was just a lot going on. I learned how to do medrecs. We were expected to do 3 a day unless there weren't any, but we always got all of the medrecs done, which was nice to have other students because we just split up the work. And then we had to counsel patients on the new chemo regimens, along with renal dose adjustments and switching patients from IV to PO. We would round with 2 teams. They weren't right after the other, so we would, like, our lunch break would be the break in between. So we were normally taking lunch at like 10 o'clock. That's like breakfast to me, and I usually don't even eat breakfast, so I wouldn't eat. I would just take, I always would keep a protein bar on me, granola bar, some type of bar on me, and then I would also have like a boathouse smoothie. And I'm not a coffee drinker, but I would bring coffee. I wouldn't drink it all the time, but it's just, you know, we're there for 10 hours. It just was a long day. So we would have to get there at 6, catch a shuttle bus, and we wouldn't leave until 4:30 every day, every single day. And that was my life. And it was a very fast pace, nonstop. There was never a time when I was bored, ever. I was never bored. He always challenged us clinically. We had a lot of drug information questions and just little critical thinking questions every day, all day, on rounds, throughout the day. Like, that is what I love the most, because it really tested the knowledge that I had, what I knew, what I thought I knew. And I was pleasantly surprised with myself on how much I remembered, because it's one thing to know the material on a test, but to know it in a pharmacy setting and to apply it on a patient by patient basis, it just was nice. And it also helped me remember a lot of things when I saw it in a patient. Like, I remembered this patient had that, this patient had that. So it was fun in that way. I did draw connections with some of the patients, because the ones that had chemotherapy and they received it inpatient, because some of them receive it outpatient, the ones that receive it inpatient, they would be there for most of their cycle. Most cycles are 21 days, others are 28 days. And then you have people that have like 3 cycles, or they have 4 cycles, or 6. It depends on their type of cancer and the regimen that they're on. So we would also be in charge of double checking the chemotherapy cycles to make sure they're accurate, to make sure patients are not missing days. Some of them, of course, will have vacations, life goes on, funerals, weddings. We had a patient that had a wedding that pushed off her chemotherapy. For her, it still was never a good idea to do that, but you always have to consider quality of life, not quantity of life. I don't want to say not, but you have to consider both quality and quantity, and it is different for each patient. Some cancers are super aggressive. You should not skip chemo when they are aggressive, and others are not as aggressive. So if they skip a day, they're off a day or a week, it won't affect them as much as it would an aggressive cancer. The size could just triple in a week. So it definitely depends. And also, it is ultimately up to the patient. There's patients who refuse chemotherapy, who don't want to have radiotherapy. So it is up to them. And we've had some patients refuse. We've had patients really want the chemotherapy but just aren't candidates because they have a low risk score, which means they're not mobile, they're not in the best health, because you have to think when you're getting chemotherapy, you will get worse before you get better. And if you're already in a bad state overall, like it's not just about your health, it's just overall, if your blood cell count is already tremendously low or tremendously high, if you can't walk around to prevent clots, if all of those, it's a lot that goes into it. So we're checking labs daily, we're making sure our patients are up and moving, or we put them on different DOACs or anticoagulants, or we have compression socks, or we send them to rehab. There is a lot that goes into patients receiving medications for their specific cancer. So, like, you know, obviously we know all of this, right? We see it in class, we see it on paper, case by case, but it's just so different seeing it in person and seeing a drastic change between our patients from the first day they come in because they think they're just having stomach issues, and then a week later they find out it's stage 4 stomach cancer that has spread to the liver or other things. And by the time they find out and a plan is set in place and it is communicated with the family, anything can happen depending on how aggressive the cancer is. And for one of the patients, she actually passed away before she could even receive chemotherapy, and it was my last week of rotations, and it really just broke my heart, because I don't want to say her family was in denial. They didn't know the severity of it because, again, no one knew she had cancer. She came in for a total different reason. She came into the ER for another reason. And after they did lab works and scans and imaging, they found out what it actually was. And they're not gonna bring it to the patient until they're totally sure of what this is. They take biopsies and everything else to be certain. So once they have a diagnosis, they give it to the patient and they tell them what they think is best. And you always have the option to choose what you want to do with your family, or the person, the actual patient, can decide if they're in that position to do so themselves. So this family was out of state actually, and they were coming down Sunday to come and see their mom. And she passed away that Thursday night, the day that they spoke to her about if she was a candidate or not, like everything as far as the cancer. She passed away that night. And the oncologist really told the family, this was the one oncologist that was so honest with them, sensitive, empathetic, but honest, and just said, like, if you can come right away, I would suggest you come now, because your mom has had a total decline from just us seeing her the day before, and she absolutely did. You could just see it in her eyes and everything else. Of course, labs really tell a lot, but just going on rounds, you can see such a difference from it being on a computer. You know, like you can see all of this on the computer and get an idea of a patient, but when you go and see a patient every day on rounds, you really know what is going on. If this patient is getting better, if this patient is declining, what is something else going on? And the fact that we saw her the day before and the day we had the call with her family on the phone and another family member in the room, and that night she passed away, just was so crazy. And another day, 2 of our patients passed away at the same time, and that day I could not keep it together at all. As soon as we walked in, we got the news that one of our patients passed away. This was a patient that was Spanish speaking. She was Hispanic. So I didn't really have a relationship with her. I know what she looked like. I did go into the rooms with the patient, but I didn't talk. I didn't give suggestions. Our student who spoke Spanish really helped out with her because no one else did on rounds. So, oh my gosh, this is real red. So I didn't really have a relationship with her. However, the other gentleman that passed away that day was like my favorite. He was literally my favorite patient, and he was there since our first week, since we started. And so I just had a relationship with him. Like when he passed, it really broke my heart. And we went on rounds, and he actually coded like an hour after. So when there's a code blue, you rush to the rooms. Everybody from respiratory, cardiology, the hospitalist, the internal medicine, the pharmacist, everybody is there. Everybody's outside this room. Of course, they're asking the pharmacist for this, for that, whatever. And it was a bit traumatic just seeing like all this stuff around and everyone working together, just like so much people outside of the rooms. So as pharmacy students, we just don't know, like, am I in the way? Do I stand around? What am I doing? Is this crooked? Oh my gosh. It's totally crooked. So that was an entire thing. And as I'm outside of the room, I'm trying to keep it together. When they pronounced him dead, it just was quiet. It went from crazy, crazy, crazy to silent. And my eyes started watering. Thank God I had my glasses on that day because I'm not an emotional person. And this rotation really just tested me in so many ways. Like, it made me sad, like seeing how everyone had to disconnect just like that, because there's hundreds of other patients in the hospital that need that same attention, that now they have to redirect and focus on them. That it wasn't that they no longer cared about this patient. It's that they had to pronounce him dead and move on to everyone else in need. Like, it really doesn't stop in the hospital. And that day it broke my heart because I'm like, no one cares, like no one's being humane. Like, how do you just up and move on about your day? But they have to. Imagine if every medical person in the medical field, healthcare provider, like they carried that type of emotion when they saw your family member who was also dying, and they don't know what to do because they are in shambles, an emotional wreck, carrying over what has happened with one patient to the next. So I had to understand that that was a way of survival. Like, it's survival. Having to disconnect like that. But it just broke my heart because I just felt like he deserved so much. You know, he deserved for people to sit in there a little longer and to just remember him. And who am I to say they didn't? Who am I to, I don't know how many other people broke down that day. about him, because I for sure did. Nobody really knew. So just like I didn't know that they didn't know I did. So I caught myself from assuming that about other people. So it definitely just was hard, so hard witnessing that. All right, so now I'm gonna go in with my Glamnetic lashes, OMG. I have a discount code, y'all check it out. I also have a video showing like a full review of multiple products. I have the liquid eyeliner that I'm gonna be putting on, and I have some more products coming from them soon, so stay on the lookout. My sister is in the back. I let her use some of my magnetic lashes and she just put them on all by herself, and she never wears makeup, so she is happy back there. I have friends that said that they didn't learn really much of anything on their first rotation, and you know, I was a little jealous. Not jealous because I didn't want to learn anything, but I was just so overwhelmed and exhausted, working 10-hour shifts and not even really having the energy to do anything on the weekends. Thankfully, Kenya was able to go back home before I went home, because I would have just felt so bad for my kid. Like, I didn't have time, and I made arrangements for her because I knew once I started rotations, things would not be the same. So I made the necessary arrangements for my kid so that she could have the life that she deserves and to not feel like she's missing out, because again, we didn't have family in Florida. So my family came down and spent a week with us, and then they took her back home, and I just love that, because I didn't want to be disconnected from her, but I really just didn't have it in me, which is why I'm so happy to be back home for the rest of my rotations, because me doing this away from my family with just my kid, if they all were like that first rotation, I don't know how that would have went. I really don't know. So I'm happy that I don't have to know. I'm happy that I made the arrangements, that I planned this out way in advance, and that I get to spend time with my kid, and I get to spend time with my family and do fun things while I'm still in school. Like, I don't have to separate the two. And I'm just happy about that. And that I have a fun family, and I get to travel, and I get to do all of this. So, yeah, the rotation was a lot. And I really felt like my preceptor was pushing me to the limit. Like for real. All of the questions he would ask me, he definitely would ask the others, but I just felt like there was more he wanted from me. And I just remember, even I asked him, like, do y'all feel like he asked me more than y'all? Like, that, not that he's picking on me, that it's malicious or anything like that, but they noticed, and they were like, yeah, he is asking more of you. We would help, but he only asking you. And I'm like, all right, I'm just making sure it's not just me. But I didn't know why. I didn't know if it was because he felt like I didn't know what I was talking about, that he didn't feel like I was putting in the work, because on a daily, he would compliment me and be like, wow, I didn't expect you to know that, or, you know. So I'm just like, well, if you're happy with what I'm doing, then what's going on? Why am I still getting most of the work or most of the questions, or getting put on the spot more than everybody else, if you felt like I'm doing good? Like, it's just not adding up. And I just remember feeling low-key attacked. Low-key, like, what's up? Like, what's going on? Why is it me? What am I doing? Because in my midpoint and on a daily, it's not that I needed to get complimented or I needed to be reassured. It's just, I am a very straightforward person, and I like to know what's expected of me so I can work on it. So if what is being communicated with me is positive feedback, and then I'm still being treated like you're expecting me to know more, wanting me to know more, then I'm a bit confused. And so my final, it was time for the final evaluations, and I was nervous because I'm just like, what is he gonna say? But I also just was so ready to find out what it was that, how he truly felt about me. I was happy to finally get my grade and finally know, so I can also ask questions like, you know, what were you expecting? Like what? Because of course I asked on a daily. That's what you should be doing, is, you know, getting feedback regularly. I got that one on. So final evaluations came final week after we did our presentations, and he told me, and I'm just so nervous. I was just so nervous because I'm like, all right, here's the truth. You know, I get the truth. My preceptor is young, so he's super nice with a lot of patience. He does move fast paced. He will test your knowledge, but there was no belittling, like none of that, which I really appreciate. So he just told me, like, you are very knowledgeable, DeCorsia. I am so impressed with how much you know, and everything that I asked of you, you took note of. You came back better. You're open to criticism. And he's like, I really think you should do a fellowship or residency. Like, I highly suggest that for you. I could see you doing so well. And it just, like, I really almost cried because it was such a tough rotation. So for him to think highly of me, and for me to kind of not be validated, but for everything to make sense. I remember watching Love and Basketball, and when the coach finally gave her starting position as a freshman, she was speechless, and the coach was like, what? And she was like, it just seems like you always riding me. And her coach said, do you think I would go horse for a player with no potential? And that just resonated. Like, it made sense why he was hard on me, why he was giving me tough love, while he was asking me more than everybody else. He was expecting more from me. And it just, I don't know, like, made me feel so good that it wasn't because he felt like I didn't know anything while he was challenging me. It was because he knew I did. And he wanted me to leave knowing that I could also. And so I'm just so grateful for that. And like, it meant everything to me. I didn't want to go this pink, to be honest. I didn't, but I guess we're going that pink. So yeah, overall it was a crazy rotation. I would do it all over again without hesitation. I just would not have that as my first rotation. I would definitely do it again though, because I learned so much about myself and about pharmacy and about oncology and the different cancers. And my grandma passed away from cancer a day after my birthday, which was a few days before my white coat ceremony and right before I started APPEs. So this was just so near and dear to my heart. So for me to, I don't know, get this experience and for me to leave with more than I started with, and for me to have a better understanding of what my grandma was going through and her diagnosis and her actual cancer, because when that happened to her, I didn't know anything about cancers. We didn't have that block yet. I didn't know about it. And so it just gave me such clarity that I'm so thankful for. And now that I'm back home, I'm super excited. More videos to come. I have like 5 ready to be edited and uploaded. So I do have content that I will give you guys soon enough. But I just wanted to hop on here really quick. I'm sweating, so I need to go to give y'all an update and let you guys know how my first rotation went. All right, so let me know what you guys want to see. My sister is rushing me. I have to go. I really did want to wear jewelry. This is my fits. Yeah, girl. Period. Period. I have this is KKW Beauty. This is actually Chloe's. I love Courtney's more, but I still haven't fully unpacked, so I don't know where that one is. I'll usually wear big jewelry, but I don't even have time right now. My sister is literally rushing me, so I have to go. Yeah, I have to go. So, but thank you guys for watching. I will hopefully see you guys in my next video. I'm about to go have some fun with my sister. And I forgot to tell you guys, I'm currently in my off block. So I planned this also to be in my off block so I could have time to move back and to really just be able to enjoy being back home and spend time with family and unpack and everything else. So yes, I just saw, I'm gonna put this on my ankles. This will be it. I don't know what bag I'm going with. My sister is literally rushing me, so oh my gosh, I have to go. I think I'm gonna just pack everything and take it with me.